Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into something truly fascinating based on the brilliant research of Dr. Suthendra S.G. We're talking about one of the world's most sophisticated and, yes, ancient frameworks for knowledge. Now, this isn't just a history lesson. It's about a system of learning that was so advanced, it holds some really powerful lessons for all of us, especially educators, even today. So to get us started, let me just ask you a question. When do you think the world's very first newspaper was published? Just take a moment, have a guess. If you were thinking somewhere in Europe, maybe around the 16th century, you'd be right there with most people. The common answer is Venice, all the way back in 1566. But what if I told you that the whole idea of documenting daily events, of creating this huge running archive of history, what if that existed thousands of years before Venice? What if the concept of a newspaper is much, much older than we've been led to believe? All right, let's get into it. Dr. Suthendra's research gives us a really clear roadmap for understanding this incredible system. We're going to start with this idea of ancient archives, then look at the foundation they were built on, the core principles. From there, we'll see how everything was documented, how that documentation actually sparked the birth of literature, which then led to the grand epics, and finally, we'll see how it all fits together. So let's go back to our newspaper. In the ancient Indian knowledge system, the job of this newspaper, this massive ongoing archive of events, was handled by the Puranas. And we have to be clear, these weren't just random stories. This was a structured, deliberate effort to create a documented reference for pretty much everything that happened. But before we can even talk about the Puranas, we have to understand the ground they were built on. Every great system needs a core philosophy, right? And for this one, it all starts with two key ideas, Shruthi and Smrithi. First, you have Shruthi. Now, I love this analogy. Think of it as the ultimate user manual for humanity. These are the big, fundamental, universal truths about life itself. They're considered to be directly received truths, not written by any person. This is the absolute core. And then, from Shruti comes Smriti. So if Shruti is the fundamental why, Smriti is the practical how. It takes those universal principles and translates them into the actual rules, the rights, and the duties that help a society function. It's the application of that grand vision. And you can see the elegant logic of the system right here. You start with the fundamental principles of existence, the Shruti, and from there, you derive the laws and the rules to live by, the Smriti. It's a perfectly straight line from principle to practice. Okay, so with that foundation firmly in place, now we can build the next layer, the Puranas. And this is where the system goes from philosophy to this unbelievably comprehensive documentation of everything. And I really do mean everything. The ambition here was just staggering. The Puranas were methodically organized into 10 distinct sections to record all knowledge, from the creation of our own solar system to the family trees of kings and even the history of natural disasters. Now, what's really amazing here is the sheer level of organization. You have Sarga, which is about the creation of the solar system. You've got Vamsa for family trees, and Vamsa Nosharada, that meticulously recorded the histories of different dynasties. This is why it's possible to trace rulers like Bhagirath or know exactly when Lord Rama ruled. It was, for all intents and purposes, a methodical historical database. But, this system didn't just stop at recording facts. The next step? This was a revolutionary leap for all of humanity. It was about transforming this raw data, these news reports, into what we now call literature. So the great scholar Maharshi Vedavyasa takes these factual events documented in the Puranas, and he adds one critical, game-changing ingredient, emotion. By weaving human feelings into the fabric of history, he literally gave birth to storytelling as we know it. He turned simple information into literature. And Vedavyasa was actually the first to define and codify the very building blocks of all human stories. He identified that we human beings interact with the world and with each other through 9 core emotions: These are known as the rasas. These are like the primary colors that you use to paint any human experience. You have Shringara for love, Bira for courage, Karuna for compassion, and so on. This framework gave storytellers a deep, deep understanding of human psychology that they could use to build these incredibly compelling narratives. And to see this in action, wow. Just look at what Dr. Sudhindra identifies as the world's very first documented love story, the story of Lord Srinivasa and Padmavati. It wasn't just reported as an event. Vedavyasa infused it with the rasa of love, creating this timeless story whose symbol, Lord Balaji of Tirumala, still draws tens of thousands of people every single day. So, from this brand new form of literature, we get the next major category in this knowledge system, Itihasam. You can think of this as the social studies of its time, and it consists of two absolutely monumental works that explore history and the depths of human nature. And these two epics are, of course, the Ramayana by Maharshi Valmiki and the Mahabharata by Maharshi Vedavyasa. And while both are absolutely foundational, they are radically different in how they approach storytelling, and they offer two completely distinct ways of teaching and learning. And this, right here, this brilliantly illustrates the key difference. The Ramayana is what we call unipolar literature. It's told from a single, primary perspective, that of Lord Rama. It gives us an ideal, a clear hero and a clear villain, to teach us how an ideal person should behave. But the Mahabharata, oh, that's something else entirely. It's multipolar. There is no single hero. The events of the story stay the same, but you are empowered to experience them from the perspective of any character, from Krishna, from Dharmaraya, even from Duryodhana. It is a masterclass in exploring complex human nature from all these different, often conflicting viewpoints. So how do all of these incredible pieces, the principles, the rules, the archives, the epics, how do they all build into one single unified system? We've seen the parts, but the real genius is how they all connect. And here it is, the complete system in one logical flow. You begin with Shruthi, the universal principles. From that, you derive Smrithi, the societal rules. You then see these principles applied throughout history in the Puranas. And finally, you explore the deep, messy complexities of human nature through the Itihasam. It's a complete, fully integrated educational system from top to bottom. And that brings us to our final thought. For all the teachers and educators listening, when we look at a system that values not just ideal behavior, but also the multipolar reality of human experience, how can this ancient, perspective-driven approach to storytelling enrich our own modern classrooms? How can we empower our students to see the world not just in black and white, but through the eyes of many? It's a really powerful idea to think about. Thank you for joining The Explainer.